I think that Orthodoxy is going to very soon experience what we in the church are experiencing.
Oh, so we got him, mate. We got. Did he get the pints of cake icing out for Behemoth Ybarra to be back on?
20 years ago, fella, we were on top.
Orthodox is going to have the same liberal. Liberal!
Top of the bloody world.
Bloody world,
liberals. And now, I feel like we're being sufficiently humbled. I'm embarrassed about the times I told Protestants about just how unified we are.
Right.
Oh. Striking admission. Striking crikey admissions, mate. Hope you got a nice pint full of cake icing out for Behemoth Ybarra. Erick Behemoth.
And I'm sorry I did that in a triumphalistic way. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think there's a unity in the church that isn't in Protestantism. I still think that's a valid critique of Protestantism and an argument for Catholic options.
Did you know that when, this is actually true, that Ubi told me that when Matt Fradd has Ybarra on, if he doesn't coat the microphone, the foam on the microphone with chocolate, Erick will not come to the table. It's kind of like it's like the way they bring livestock to the feeding trough. Sometimes they got to put like a little bit of food out to get them to come to it. If he doesn't coat the cake icing on the microphone, Ybarra will just sort of graze around the studio, and he won't make his way over to the table to the microphone.
Aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And by perfect, I don't mean true. I just mean that would make us feel completely secure if we stick to appearances.
Yes. In many ways.
You'll notice that this is very conveniently lit to where Erick blends into the background, because if it wasn't that way, you would see that Erick is the background. Okay? Erick is literally the background here. And sometimes there's a camera angle, which he may not be using in this episode, where it's shot from the side of the table with both of them facing each other. Erick is the size of a small planet. He's the size of a small moon. He's like Titan or Io or whatever those Saturnian moons are named. I don't even know. But do we even need to debunk this? I mean, what are they even saying? So you'll notice they cut out that angle in this podcast, maybe because I actually made a joke about it. Because from the side, Erick Ybarra literally has to be 400 to 500 pounds. I'm not joking. And I don't care what you think about my jokes. I really don't care.
Getting to know Orthodox people. It's like, oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to go to the OCA parish. Oh, no, don't go to the OCA. What? Why? Well, this. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, can I go to the Greek Orthodox? No, I wouldn't go there.
Now it's all a tu quoque. Okay, so because there's liberalism in the Orthodox churches, we have the same problem as the Roman Catholic Church. That's where this line of argument is. Okay, first of all, these people have never understood that the critique that we make is not, you don't have the liberalism, or you have the liberalism we don't have. They've never addressed this point, ever. And that's why they won't talk to anyone but whoever they'll talk to. They would never talk to me because I won't allow bad arguments to keep going and fallacies to be pushed and the points to not be addressed. So for the 500th time, I'm going to make this point again. Our argument for orthodoxy is not that we do not have liberalism and you do. Nobody ever made this argument. Sometimes people have made the argument that there's less liberalism that's extreme in the Roman Catholic position that we do not have. That's true. For example, we do not have liturgical liberalism in the Orthodox Church. Even morally liberal parishes, or if you were to go to an Elpidophoros liturgy or something and you saw a rainbow flag or whatever, the liturgy itself would not be tampered with and messed with. And even the Roman Catholics will admit this, okay? It's very difficult to find real Orthodox liturgical abuses. It is not difficult to find that in the Roman Catholic Church. It is everywhere, except for the Latin masses, which are being suppressed and shut down by the Pope. So the argument was never and has never been, you have liberals and we don't. And these strawmanners, these goofuses, always address an argument that is not the argument that's made. So what they're doing here is appealing to the masses that are listening to the audience. They're appealing to a lot of people who are low tier, low information voters. They're appealing to those people and saying, the grass isn't greener, there's liberals over there. Okay, nobody ever said the grass was greener in the sense of no liberals over here. The argument was always that your system via Vatican I hinges on an ordinary teaching position of the magisterium that cannot err or change its morals or its dogma. Vatican II, Francis, and countless other examples in the bishopric and hierarchy have consistently taught against the pre-Vatican II teachings and morals so many times over that it is a contradiction in the dogma and the morals, such as the temporal supremacy of the Roman bishop being necessary for salvation, such as changing the position on the death penalty to be, quote, contrary to the gospel. Two easy examples. Those are changes in morals and dogma, amongst many others, such as the status of the Jews in the covenant, also a change in the Roman Catholic system. 3 examples. Okay, those are systemic level critiques which invalidate the entire system of the Roman Catholic papacy and its dogmas. And a systemic level critique invalidates the system. This monstrosity here has never understood this argument. He is such a low-tier, hard-headed, he's got hot dogs in his ears from lunch and from second breakfasts and from 11sies, that he doesn't understand a paradigm level critique. And if you go back and watch our debate, every reply that he gives is a let me stack more and more evidences, and doesn't it look like maybe the papacy is true? When it's never even been a question of the papacy. It's a question of Vatican I's view of the papacy, as he debated with Ubi, and as he said at one point in the debate about Vigilius, I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I haven't found a sufficient answer for that.
Because this. It's like, wait a minute. So now I got to pass Orthodox churches too to go to the right one? Why? Well, you got to go to where they hold the canons. The canons are inspired, infallible.
Who ever said that the canons are inspired and infallible? I've heard one Orthodox goofus who maintains this. And that's probably who he has in mind there. Who I don't know if that goofus even still believes that anymore. So let's move on. Let's see if there's a better argument here.
Led to the old Russian believers breaking off?
No, that was
previous?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's previous. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So because there's old believers, Orthodoxy isn't united, even though almost all those people have been reconciled to the church. So, look, if you are at this level, if you're falling for this type of stuff, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, all of this stuff is entry-level stuff. I can always count on these people keeping it at the entry level because there's not a lot of advantage to podcasts to going deeper into any of the issues. It's much more advantageous for, if you got 500,000 subscribers to keep it at the pop level.
That's another interesting one. But in any case, without going into too many details, there's just so many names, so many things that have happened, but they themselves have undergone.
So in other words, I'm going to be lazy and not give you explicit examples, There's just so many and so many names. Like what? Who? What are you talking about?
An experience of ecumenism to the point where Orthodox were talking with Anglicans, we're talking with Catholics.
Yeah, so there were meetings with Anglicans 100 years ago, and so now Erick's saying, you guys are ecumenism too. You guys got all the same problems. I guarantee you, I don't even have to watch this clip. I can guarantee you that nobody in this clip, Matt Fradd, Erick Ybarra, will never address the systemic paradigm level critique that the Roman system invalidates itself from an internal critique on its own grounds. All they can ever do is a tu quoque. So this is a giant tu quoque podcast, I can already tell.
Catholics in a way that blurred that rigid line that the Orthodox want to see, which is outside the Orthodox Church, there is no sacrament.
No, meetings with Anglicans 100 years ago is not a blurring of the lines. It's not a violation of the canons. It's not ecumenism. The canons specify liturgical services and communion with heterodox. It's nothing to do with having academic conferences. None of that's a problem.
There is no grace. There is no salvation. Well, you had a lot of Orthodox hierarchs who are coming out saying the opposite of that.
You can see, if you look in there in his mouth, you can actually see an entire Wendy's bacon burger, like over there by the right molar there, if you pay attention. Like you can see, there's like the wrapper's still on it if you look really close. No, look, man, if you want to be Roman Catholic, you want to go be with these people, go for it, man. Oh, by the way, so yes, I meant to mention this. We got some more super chats. What book would you recommend that steelmans the Roman Catholic position? I mean, I quit reading Roman Catholic stuff years ago, so I mean, I know that when I was a Roman Catholic, one of the popular apologetic books, I still have it over here. It's the Butler, Dahlgren, and Hess book about the keys. But I think the problem is that you can spend the next 10 years arguing until your face is blue that Peter and the keys and the rock and all that is the Roman reading. And none of that will get you the Vatican I claims. That's why Ybarra, for example, when he tries to make that move, he says, let's just go with the historical cases. Let me stack them up. And then is it even maybe possible that it's the papacy? That's his move. Okay, but all I need is one counterexample of a contradiction. And if I recall, in the Ybarra debate, at one point he actually says something like, I'm going from memory here, something like, if you can show one dogmatic contradiction, the papacy would be false. He says something like that. So even he kind of at least maybe understands the point. I don't know.